Crown Point, Indiana explained. Hey, in this video, we're going to talk about what it's like to live in Crown Point, Indiana, and whether you've lived in Crown Point your whole life or you're totally new to the area and don't know anything about Crown Point, this video is for you. So we're going to talk about all kinds of good stuff, including we're going to talk about the history of Crown Point, the location, where exactly is Crown Point, similar surrounding towns, subdivisions, commuting, demographics, schools, crime, water. Why is water on here? Got to check it out. Things to do, taxes, and home prices. There'll be a lot more peppered in there, but those are kind of the main points as we go. So digging right into the history. So the Crown Point was originally settled in 1834. This guy, Solon Robinson, and his family arrived here in 1834, and they were the first settlers. Crown Point became the county seat of the Lake County in 1837. There was a courthouse that was built, so the city was incorporated in, or the town, in 1868, and Crown Point is where the Lake County courthouse is, and the I guess legal center, as you call it. Just a quick introduction. My name is Tony Anczer. I'm a real estate agent. We serve both Illinois and Indiana. I got you covered on both sides of the border. Contact info is here. I do live in Dyer, which is like right over, or a couple miles away from Crown Point. I've been here 15 plus years, and I'd like to think we know a decent bit of the area, so looking forward to just explaining our knowledge of the area to you. Also, if you'll see below in the videos, there's chapters to this video, so if there's something specifically you're interested in about Crown Point, you can go ahead and skip to, or if you want to, after you watch this video, if you just want to see certain highlights, you'll see the chapters of this video listed below. Alright, so Crown Point, overall, this is niche.com is where I get a lot of data from. They do a lot of surveys and investigations about towns and schools and whatnot, so we'll see niche.com come up a lot here in this presentation. So we'll see in Crown Point, they're ranked at number five best place in Lake County to live. Here's the rankings as to why they give that. They give, public schools, housing, families, crime, diversity, and yeah, so you see some more information there. And again, you want to talk fast, there's a lot of content here. All right, what's on the screen now is my Google Earth. I got it marked up with all the different towns. It's a little busy right now, and let me just explain that, and then we'll come clear to you. So Crown Point here is the crux of what we're looking at today. And then you'll see the other surrounding towns. So just to the east, you got Lake of the Four Seasons, a little further more to Valparaiso, north, Maryville, Hobart, Gary, Griffith, to the west, St. John, Cherryville, to the southwest, Cedar Lake, further south is Lowell. You get to the southeast, there's other towns, Hebron. It gets a little bit more unincorporated in that area. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here and kind of talk about the main roadways. All right, so the main north-south interstate is I-65 right here, and that goes south like to Indianapolis. It goes all the way up to 80-90, and then if you were to go to the Chicago, you would then take on the 90 or 94 here, and then go further north to the city. 80-94 takes you further east. 80-94 gets pretty busy because the entire region from the west has to go along 80-94 to, because otherwise you can't go through Lake Michigan. 80 comes further to the west. You got other cross streets, Route 2s over here. You got Route 30, which is another main thoroughfare from Valparaiso. That Route 30 is you'd find yourself on frequently if you live in the region. 231 is also a main road that you'll find yourself on frequently in the Crown Point area. While we're looking at the map, you'll see this line right here is the Illinois-Indiana border. So we're pretty close to Illinois, and you'll find a lot of people when they're looking on either the Illinois side or the Indiana side that they'll often pick the Indiana side because the taxes are a lot cheaper. It's usually like a factor or two or more on property taxes, and the cost of living is a little bit less overall too. And lastly on the map, just wanted to point out a little further zoomed out. So I'm zoomed out. This is, here is Lake Michigan, and you'll see again any traffic going from like Chicago further east into Michigan, you have to come down, follow the lake, and then head over to go back, wherever you're going east. So that's a big reason why 80-94 gets pretty busy. And again, here's that Illinois-Indiana border. And then downtown Chicago is like right here. So just wanted to give a little perspective, and we'll get into commuting and whatnot. Where's your circle? And what do I mean by that? We are going to look at the map again. So if you lived in Crown Point, like where would you find yourself throughout? If you're going shopping, if you're going all that good stuff. In Crown Point, their zone, so to speak, that they're usually in is like Crown Point, right here. Crown Point has all you need to stay in the town. If you need to go shopping, if you need to do whatever. But really, your kind of region area that you'd find yourself in mostly is kind of, here's what I find, is this like Cedar Lake, Maryville, St. John, Cherryville region. And, you know, depending, some people might work in Valparaiso, but that's what I find is where most people, that's, you know, you'd be able to find everything. Like Maryville has the Costco's, you know, St. John, Cedar Lake, there's different restaurants in that area. So that's kind of the, you know, this is probably a 10-mile radius that you would find yourself in most likely. All right, water. So in Crown Point, Indiana, the town of Crown Point is on well water. And so some of Northwest Indiana is on Lake Michigan water, and some are on wells. Now this shows a house that has a well by itself. Like, this is not how it is in Crown Point, but this gets the general picture, is that there's groundwater in the ground, and they have pumps down in a casing, and then pump the groundwater up, and then it then gets treated. So that's generally the premise of how well water works. You know, the town owns these big wells, and then they pump it in water mains out to the houses. But there is well water in Crown Point, and so with well water, you do have hardness in the water that can be a consideration. You can get some mineral buildup, and so what you do to combat this, so this is some remnants of what well water can leave. But how you do to address that is on well water houses, you just have like a whole house filter here. Another thing that's some people will do is they'll have a RO unit, a reverse osmosis, under like their kitchen sink where they get drinking water from. Or some people will have these things called Berkeys. These things are great. They're like $300-400, and they last like forever. You got some cartridges you refill every now and then, but it filters water by gravity, and it works phenomenal. I got some friends that live in Beecher, Illinois. Beecher, Illinois, well water is horrible. Probably one of the worst water in the area. And this slide here, I won't read through it, but if you want to come back to it, this shows you which towns in Northwest Indiana, what their water source is. If it's Lake Michigan water, and Lake Michigan water, I didn't mention this earlier, is like super clean. It's, you know, tastes good, doesn't have like hardly any hardness, doesn't leave residue on your showers or anything like that, but well water can. So that's why you got to do the treatment and whatnot. So the slide just states who's got what towns are on well and what's on Lake Michigan. Segueing, time zones. So the majority of Indiana here, all this yellow is Eastern time zone, but because, and some people argue with me, but most of Northwest Indiana is basically a Chicago suburb, and for that, the region is on Central Time. So you'll see here, these are the counties, and so this is, you know, we're Crown Point's over here, and so Crown Point is on Central Time. When you get further east in Indiana or further south, it does jump to Eastern Time Zone. But in general, you are in Eastern Time Zone. Hey, quick segue. If you could, on the video, if you could like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. This is my YouTube channel looks like, and we've got playlists that have different videos for community tours, home tours, information about the region. If you just like and subscribe, it really helps out the channel, and we'll notify you when we put out new videos about the area. Segue here to schools. So these are the schools that are in Crown Point, and I won't read them here because we're going to take a look at each one in the rankings from niche.com, and then so we're going to cycle back and forth from information about the school and then where it is on a Google map. At the Crown Point High School, so Crown Point High School is rated at A. You know, here's the reasons why, and then I'll let you read that as we go through these slides. And then I just like pointing out that these stats, it's got 2,900 students in 8 grades 8 to 12, student to teacher ratio of 23:1. And so this map shows the schools, and so the Crown Point High School is basically on the south end of Crown Point. Here is this school, and which is right off of 231, and this is the downtown square, which is the kind of happening place. All right, Dwight D. Eisenhower Elementary. It's given an A. It's got 546 kids in pre-K through 5, student-teacher ratio of 15:1. All right, we'll zoom in. It's just north of the high school here. We'll look at the school from the aerial view. Robert A. Taft Middle School. It's given an A. About 1,100 students. Student-teacher ratio of 20:1. All right, zooming in. There it is, kind of in the south center area of town. So I got a nice track there. Tennis courts. All right, Solon, I'm not sure if I said that right. Robinson Elementary School. Oh, look at this. #1 best elementary school in Lake County. I didn't know that. It's given an A. I see we got 542 kids from K through 5, student-to-teacher ratio of 18:1. It's pretty good. All right, so Solon is right here, kind of in the south middle town. Yeah, we'll look at that on the aerial view here. Got a little track there. So that is a pretty good sized school. All right, Lake Street Elementary. It says it's #3 best in Lake County. Given an A, 734 students, student-to-teacher ratio of 22:1. All right, we're zooming in here, kind of on the west center side of town. zoom into the aerial view. All right, Timothy Ball Elementary. It's given an A, 530 students, 18:1 student to teacher ratio. All right, we're zooming in on Timothy Ball, kind of in the west side. There we go. Zooming in. It's got a pretty nice playground. Taking my kids there in the summer before just to hang out at their property. It's pretty nice. All right, Eagle Park Elementary. It was not given a ranking for some reason. It does say there's 105 kids through K through 12, which is pretty small. So that's up here. One thing of note, that number 105 seems kind of small, but one thing that's of note is that the very north side, so like in this area of Crown Point, actually goes to Maryville High School. So maybe that's why those numbers are a little weird and doesn't have a ranking. But just do keep that in mind, because if you bought a house up here, you might just naturally think your kids would go to Crown Point High School, and that's not the case, which can be a big surprise. And you also see a price difference in homes from the Maryville School District side to the Crown Point District side, and usually the Maryville School District side has a lower home prices. All right, last but not least is Jerry Ross Elementary. It's given an A. It's got 512 students. K through 5, student to teacher ratio of 18:1, which is always great. All right, this is gonna be a little different too, because this school is actually in the Lakes of Four Seasons, and the Lakes of Four Seasons has Crown Point address, but it's in like a different area. So just so you know, so if you're looking at a house in the Lakes of Four Seasons, it's not really close to the rest of Crown Point. So even though it has a Crown Point mailing address, and there's some pretty cool houses that are on water, just have it on your radar that it's not really close to the rest of Crown Point. That does catch a lot of people by surprise. All right, before we finish schools, just wanted to mention this is an important thing about Indiana and affects a lot of families, is that state of Indiana has a voucher program, and there's more information here at this link. And with the voucher program, yeah, in Lake County, it's somewhere around $6,800 a kid that the state will pay tuition assistance if you want to send your kid to a private school. So my kids actually go to a private Christian school, and the state pays like 80% of their tuition bill, which is pretty huge. So, and it's basically anybody qualifies. There used to be these different tracks, like you used to have anyway, I won't go down this path of the tracks, and then the income limits were recently changed, and the income limits are really high now, relatively speaking. So if you have a family of say 4, 2 kids, your family household income can be like $280,000 or something like that, and still qualify for the program. And again, that's what's on your W-2s. So a lot of business owners, maybe the higher income, their net income won't show as high, so you still qualify. But just a note, because this is affected, and it's actually made a lot of increased demand in the private schools, like the kids at the school our kids go to basically have no additional capacity right now, because this is really this funding assistance has allowed people to go to private school that otherwise wouldn't have. All right, so we're changing gears here now. This is going into crime. So the crime rate at Crown Point, Indiana. So how this dial works is basically 50 is kind of the median, so like your average town in the United States. And so we'll see that it is, below median, which is no surprise here out in Northwest Indiana. And then the other towns in Northwest Indiana, just so if you have reference, this is the crime rate. And I don't know exactly how those metrics are given, the percentages, but you can just see that the different towns here have different levels of crime. And again, that's according to niche.com. All right, this slide is just talking about how long does it take to get places. We're looking here at Crown Point. So from Crown Point to get to O'Hare Airport, and this is pretty much with no traffic, is 70 minutes, so hour, 10 minutes to get to O'Hare Airport. And again, that's with no traffic. And then the other towns here, they'll just tell you what it is to O'Hare, because sometimes they'll have people that say they need to be so close to the airport, and this will give you the commute times to the airport. All right, train commuting. Like say you're going to work in the city, and if you wanted to ride the train from Crown Point, you really don't have any options. Like you're not going to be riding there is no train track from Crown Point to the city. So you'd either be going to Valparaiso, which is probably your closest. I know some people in Dyer that will take the train, and they'll go to the University Park here. So we'll see that Crown Point is here, and then so you'd either have to get to Valparaiso to take the train in, or you'd have to go drive all the way over here. So if you want to do a train commute to the city, you're probably looking at least an hour and a half each way, so that you have time to drive to the train station and then go to the city. So there's not a lot of train commuters from Crown Point. This slide gets into property taxes, and so what's nice about Indiana has a 1% property tax cap for owner-occupied properties. So what does that mean? So let's say if a $400,000 house in Northwest Indiana, generally the assessor's office is usually a little lower than, so say they'll assess it at $380. So that means that if you're owner-occupied, that your property taxes can't exceed $3,800, which would be 1% of the assessed value. The caveat to that is like voter-approved projects can be additional. So like if there's a school referendum or like a drainage project or something like that. But usually it's not higher than 1% even with the voter approved projects. Now note that if it's investor property or non-owner occupied, or if you just forget to file this exemption after you buy a house, your tax cap goes up to 2% and the county will not give you a refund. So if you forget to file your homeowner's exemption, then you're going to pay basically double the taxes you should have, and you can't get that back. So after you're buying a house in the area, it's just very important to make sure you file that exemption. And then here gets in the property taxes. And so in Crown Point, like for a house that's a 3-bed, 2-bath, about 2,000 square foot, property taxes, did some research, and at Crown Point you're looking at about $3,100. This slide here, I won't read it to you, but if you want to come back to this slide, this shows you what the taxes are in the other towns, and it's basically just based off of the values of the town. But sometimes, towns that have more industry won't need to rely on the property tax as much, so that also comes into play here. And this shows a actual copy of a property tax bill, and here you see that the assessed value is $351, and so this shows that the tax cap can only be 1% of that, with here is 776 is voter approved projects. So that means that the max that can be imposed is $42.92. Page 2 I didn't include on here, but it actually ends up being less than the 1%. Median home prices. So again, we're obviously looking at Crown Point in this video. So with Crown Point, we're looking at median is not respective of targeting how many bedrooms or bathrooms. It's just saying of all the houses that sold in June of 2023, what is the median price point? And with that was $359,000, and that was a 3-bed, 2-bath, and that was on the market for an average of 12 days currently. And here's current housing stats for Crown Point. So you'll see that in this bar, is it a seller's market or buyer's market? It's definitely in the seller's market still. This is showing 2.35 months of inventory. I disagree with that, how they do their math, so it's less. But list of sold price is 98. Median days on the market is 14, and so that's basically homes that are priced right, in good condition, are selling in 14 days. This is a little lower than what I said earlier because this includes like townhouses and such. So we're going to get into new listings. Median new listing value is 376. Active listing, the median value is 392. And then sold, so median sold price is 322, and that was for June 2023. And again, that includes condos and townhouses. So let me actually switch that to single family, apply to all charts. All right, and this graph shows property values too. There's a lot of lines here. Let me turn off Lake County. So this blue line is Crown Point, and you can see property values through, this is 2015, 17, 19, 23. So you'll see that we are at all-time high prices right now. Northwest Indiana is doing great. And this graph the yellow shows Indiana, that's showing an upward trend. And the USA is this red line that there's more data in that one where some regions have been cooling off. So the prices are flattening, but in our region of Crown Point, you see that we're basically at all-time highs of property values. All right, so now we're gonna look at some houses that have sold recently so you can get a flavor of what the housing stock is like. And so this is a search for 3-bed, 2-bath. We'll also do a 4-bed, 2.5-bath because that seems to be like the two pockets that most people are looking at. And so this is on the lower end. This starts off by pricing. Nice looking house, 1,400 square feet. And so this sold for $290,000. Here's a decent one for $330,000. This looks to be like a tri-level design, and the newer houses are more of the traditional ranch or 2-story open concept. Some of the older sections of town are the more tri-level slash. There we go. Here's one, $407,000. This is a 3-bed, 2.5-bath. This is more traditional, more current style. 2-story with the basement, 3-car garage. So this will give you a different flavor. So this is obviously a newer home style. So that's the second level. You'll see that with lofts in different areas. And yeah, so there's that guy. Here's a 4-bed, 3-bath, sold in July for $410,000. Newer home style. And yeah, we got an office. You know, so that's like what 410 gets you. And again, at the same price point, there are more current homes. A lot of people are looking for more open concept than what this home is, and that's what is being built now. You know, new construction is definitely the open concept style. And to show that, here's a 4-bed, 2.5-bath new construction, $430,000. You know, 3-car garage. And we'll see this is what current construction looks like. It's very open there. Yeah, that's that. Can't get much more open concept than that. But this is the flavor of what the new houses are looking like in the region. This house is not typical, but I thought we'd look at it for fun. This is $460,000, 4-bed, 3-bath. Got like this nice A-frame house. And again, you don't see these a lot in the area. But I just we couldn't pass up looking at this guy. This is a fun looking house. It's right on the golf course. That's a neat design. It's like a cabin there. That's a really cool house, actually. Nice. All right, here's like the $500,000 price point. Got cool waterway there. Yeah, so that's like about what $500,000 gets you. And again, that's on a little bit of water there, so that increases the value of what's sold. Here's a little more typical of what you get. This one won't be on water. $510,000. This is also a new home. Photos are really bad on this one. Sorry for that one. That shows you the open concept. And how many square feet was this one? This one was 2,500 square feet. So that's what 500,000 gets you. All right, here's the most expensive home that's sold in the last few months. It's a 4-bed, 3.5-bath, 5,000 square foot home for $935,000. It's on the forest area, which is pretty cool. Let's flip through some photos here so you can get a flavor of what almost $1 million buys you out here. And for Crown Point, like $1 million is a really high budget. For like just a general, like if you're looking for a house that you never have to move out of again, you're looking at probably the $450 range. You could get, you know, you could be lower than that, but for a standard house, for a good size house, that's what you'd be at about. You know, if you wanted to live in the older side of town, you could, you know, get away with $350,000, $400,000 for like a forever home. For taxes, so Indiana has a flat tax of 3.15%. Lake County has an additional 1.5%. So living here, the state tax is 4.65%. Sales tax is 7%. There's no sales tax on food, which is really nice. Municipalities can't add additional taxes on that. Social Security tax is not taxed. That's like most states. Retirement income is taxed. Some states do not, and that can make a difference for why some people live in Illinois, not Indiana, for the retirement income. All right, getting into things to do in the area. There's lots of parks. Crown Point has a very robust park district and parks in the area to visit. Downtown Crown Point is really cool, and we'll actually take a look at that. Yeah, and most Northwest Indiana towns don't have like a downtown where you just like you go out and park the car and walk around and hit a restaurant or something. But Crown Point does, and that is a draw to Crown Point. And so the square here, this is downtown Crown Point. So this is like the square that people walk around. And let me throw on map edits here. All right, so here's downtown square. Recently built here was Bulldog Park. So here, Bulldog Park is in the summertime. They have concerts here as a concert pavilion. This is a big covered area. Well, they'll have like farmers markets. They'll have weekend activities here, bands that play. This is also a ice rink in the wintertime, and this is like the shelter area where you get ice skates and snacks and stuff, and then go ice skating. Yeah, so this is a street view of downtown Crown Point. So it's a pretty cool place to be. They got lots of restaurants and summer activities and all that good stuff. So there's biking trails in the area. Lake Michigan, the beach is not too far away. There's the state park, or the Indiana Dude State Park, which I think became a national park recently. Kid stuff local in the area. There's Sky Zone. There's community pools. Midwest Training Center has ice skating, gymnastics. There's some like arcade places that use Jack's Warehouse the kids enjoy going to. We are close to Chicago and other towns, so you can still be in proximity of other towns that you're going to visit. This is the picture of the Indiana Dunes State Park. We find ourselves there a couple times a year. All right, so that concludes this video. Again, here's my contact information, and again, we do these videos to help our clients and people looking to buy or sell in the area. So please reach out. So I do that. Don't be shy. Contact information is there and link below, and it'll be popping up on the screen right now too. And thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.